tell us about Pittsburgh Power. You know, I visited with you last year. You were nice enough to sit down with me, and I can tell you, Bruce, I've heard so much about that episode over the past year that you hit a home run with it and with the Oakley Podcast, and we appreciate you doing that because our listeners, man, you can communicate with our kind of people, you know, the owner-operators at Oakley Trucking and all the owner-operators out there. What's been going on since last year?
Well, since last year we came up with a few new tunes. We're getting more into the Volvo package. We have a new chemical out called Flashpoint. It adds cetane, lubricity, injector cleaners because we do have our max mileage fuel-borne catalyst that burns 70% more of the soot and carbon in the combustion chamber, rendering the emission systems trouble-free. Now, our goal now is and that makes the engine smoother and quieter. Let's continue on that path. And Dr. Jane Gates does a great job with the max mileage. But I have another friend that I met 40-some years ago who also is a PhD chemist. And I've worked with his products on and off. But we were always so busy with just the engines. So now we're expanding a little bit. And we have our Flashpoint. And that has cetane, lubricity, injector cleaners, and all kinds of other things that I can't even pronounce because I'm not the chemist. And, you know, we have the Snap-on tool guy comes at the shop, and we have a Cornwell tool guy. And both have their trucks loaded to the gill. And the Cornwell guy, the steepest hill we have on Route 8 coming out of Butler, he's got a 6.7 Cummins in his step van, and he's overloaded. He gained 5 miles an hour with our new Flashpoint coming up the hill. And J.R. Hillhouse, who runs a 379 repaired ACERT out of Mississippi, 1,386,000 miles on his truck. We have it set at about somewhere between 750 and 800 horsepower. He's been running the catalyst since we came out with it in 2018, 2019. He's now running a Flashpoint, and he's smiling. And he just bought a new Ford diesel pickup with the 10-speed automatic. And he says, I'm going to drive this slow. We're just going from Mississippi to Louisville. In 10th gear, running along like at 58, he got 27 miles to the gallon running the Flashpoint and the max mileage catalyst in this. I don't know if it's a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton, but it's one of the two. And he's loving the Flashpoint. So we just got our first pallet in 168 gallons a week ago, and it's gone. So we're going to be starting to get a lot of good reports. And the second pallet's on its way. We do have it here at the show, and we're probably going to run out with it. So between our Flashpoint and our max mileage, we're making diesel fuel better. So if you think about it, back in the late 90s, twice the government took paraffin, cetane, aromatics. And there was one other chemical that they took out of diesel fuel, along with gasoline, and they keep making it weaker and weaker. So, you know, if your body wants to be pristine, you got to put a lot of protein into it. You got to work out. You got to stretch. Well, if you want your truck to be pristine and run and be responsive and give you good fuel mileage and longevity, you've got to make the diesel fuel right. Because the diesel fuel right out of the pump is not that good.
Why are they doing that? I mean, that's a whole nother episode.
Pollution.
Probably, but, I mean, that's the bottom line.
Right.
Is they think they're taking these ingredients out of diesel that's going to make it not burn.
They took the paraffin out. Paraffin is the wax. That's lubrication. They took the aromatics out. Aromatics make power. And they took the cetane. And there was one other chemical. It'll come to me. But anyway.
And that by knowing that, what they've taken out, then the chemist can.
We know what to put back in.
What to put back in.
Right.
I got you.
So you'd have to make it right. You know, did you ever go to grocery store and buy a steak and you cook the steak and there's no flavor to it? Really, did you gain anything? Did your body gain anything from that steak? No. You got to go and get that grass-fed prime steak, and then you're gaining something. Well, that's what you got to do with the diesel fuel. You know, you'll go into like Sam's Club. They have some pretty good prime steaks, or what's that other one? Bezos spot. Whole Foods. You'll see, I like New York strip. You'll see a prime New York strip, $37 a pound or something like that. I said, my God, that's ridiculous. But boy, does it taste good. You know? So we have to do the same. Let's talk about gasoline. When I was young, back in the 50s, you're dumping gasoline into the lawnmower. The fumes are coming out and you're smelling the fumes. You could see the vapors coming out of the tank. That's gone. So gasoline's not like it used to be. It's surprising that cars actually run as good as they do on it, but it's taken a tremendous amount of engineering. But if you have an older car or an older pickup truck or an older tractor, chainsaw, lawnmower, it doesn't matter. Harley Davidson, put the max mileage catalyst in. You'll be surprised how much better it'll run. It's 1 cc per gallon.
I actually bought some last year after this show, after the show we did, the podcast we did. I ordered, they come in twos, I think 2 quarts, might have been quarts, I can't remember, but 2 of them. And I started using it in my pickup. I've got a GMC 6.2 liter gas burner. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, I could tell a difference. I mean, I could tell a difference in my fuel mileage. And I just felt, now, you know, driving it, I felt like it had a little more response.
You didn't have to push as much on the pedal.
You know, and I thought, man, that is working great.
Think about this. If you push less on the pedal for the same response and the same speed, what's that equate to? Better fuel mileage. So when you make a change in a semi-truck, like you gear it properly, we're going to talk about gearing because these truck dealerships do not understand gearing. And I don't know why these guys don't study a little bit, but they're selling people trucks geared wrong. But when we take a semi-truck and we make that truck run along the highway, whether it's 60, 65, 70, we try to get you to stay more at the 60, 65 because there is more fuel mileage there. If we can get my buddy back in office like we had a few years ago and get the price of diesel fuel down, then we can drive faster. But right now with the price of diesel fuel, we have to drive a little slower. But when we make that semi-truck run along at highway speeds with 80,000 pounds where you're hardly touching the pedal, you're actually holding your foot back, that's fuel mileage.
Wow.
And then when you roll into the throttle and everything's right and that left front wants to pick up and charge into the hill, oh, that's an adrenaline rush. Megan, here's what we get. You get adrenaline, you get dopamine, that's what drug addicts get high on, and you get endomorphines. The 3 together are more powerful than cocaine.
And all of that's
you
thanks
get that
to your product.
No, you get that. You get that after we tune your truck and we set everything up. If it's an older truck, we change the manifold and the turbo, tune the ECM. If it's a real old truck and it's mechanical, we reflow the pump and the injectors. We gear it properly and make it so it just runs like a thoroughbred horse.
Now, don't go drinking it thinking it's going to work on your body.
Well, Bruce told me. So can you use that for regular gas treatment? So I can pop it in the Toyota Corolla.
What year's your Toyota?
It's a 2019.
2019. Okay. You put 1 cc per gallon.
Okay.
We have syringes, but you can get syringes at any pharmacy. Sometimes they just give them to you. They don't last real long because they don't have a rubber O-ring in them. They have plastic, and they will grow with the catalyst.
So it's that fine of a small of an amount that you need to use a syringe.
1 cc per gallon. You need a syringe for gasoline. And you put it in there. If you're Toyota holds 16 gallons. You put 16 cc's in and you top it off. And the next time you're going to buy gasoline, say you're at a half a tank and you're going to buy 10 gallon, put 10 cc's in, fill it up. Now, if you put 10 cc's in and it only takes 7 gallons, you're still okay. On a brand new car, you're going to want to run it pretty easy until you can put a couple more gallons in to make up that difference. I did have my A8 Audi kind of derate on me one time. I had a couple more cc's in it, and the ECM said, "Oh, this gasoline's a little hot."
So it makes that big a difference.
Oh, yeah.
You need to put what's recommended.
How soon should you be able to tell? How soon should you be able to see the difference in your
You'll probably see it in the first block.
Really?
Yeah.
For trucks too? For trucks too? All vehicles?
In a semi truck,
Uh-huh.
one that has 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 miles on it, it takes 90 days to clean the engine, but you'll feel it once the catalyst gets through the fuel system.
Uh-huh.
Maybe in 2 or 3 blocks, they'll feel it. It's that instant.
Does it help, Bruce, if they clean the filter and stuff and then start using it?
Okay. All right. You mean the DPF?
DPF.
All right. So we would rather you not, because if your engine's really dirty, I mean, you got a lot of dirt coming out, and some of it's going to get into the DPF. There's a term called face plugging. Let's say the lady just cakes makeup on. She basically caked her face. Well, that's what can happen to a DPF. Guys that are listening or going to listen have to know we have a lady involved now, see, so we can relate some things.
That's
right?
good.
So anyway, it doesn't happen often, but it can happen. So we would rather them wait 90 days till the system's cleaned out and then get to a DPF Alternatives. It's a franchise based out of Denver, Colorado, and it is without a doubt the finest way to clean DPFs. We became a franchise to DPFs.
So you clean them at your place?
We do it
facility.
at our place, yes.
A used semi-truck is a great way to kick off your career as an owner-operator on a budget, and buying from a reputable dealer like Aero Truck Sales ensures you're getting a reliable truck that fits your needs. They carry trucks from all the major manufacturers in the trucking industry and perform a thorough inspection of every truck on their lot to ensure safety and quality and give you confidence that you're getting a reliable truck that will last you for years at a price that you can afford. Being a longtime partner with Oakley Trucking and the Oakley Podcast, we trust them to provide our owner-operators with a truck that fits their needs and matches our qualifications. So whether you're a first-time owner-operator or just looking for a new-to-you rig, be sure to give Keith Wilson and Trey Visor a call at 573-216-6047 and let them know you heard it here on the Oakley Podcast.
Let everybody know where it's at in case we got some new listeners.
We are in Saxonburg, Pennsylvania, 30 miles north of Pittsburgh, just 4 miles off of Route 8. So coming out of Pittsburgh, you have Interstate 79, Route 19, Route 8, and Route 28. And they all kind of fan out from the city. And we're between Route 28 and Route 8, not far off of 19 or I-79.
All right. It's called Pittsburgh Power, but you guys are located in Saxonburg. Is it just because you're so close to Pittsburgh, or that's the biggest?
Well, we used to be 14 miles north of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is the main city. So people know where Pittsburgh is. And the reason we used to be diesel injection of Pittsburgh, when we sold Marmon trucks, we were diesel injection Marmon of Pittsburgh. The reason we went to Pittsburgh Power was I had built an RV and I was towing it. I didn't build it, I had it built. It was a Newmar Country Air. I had a Pace trailer behind it, and I pulled it with a T600 Kenworth single axle. So I was 83 feet long. And I would be out in the west to southwest working RV shows, truck shows, going to people's garages, helping them tune up their motorhomes, their Dodge pickups. I was just enjoying life and driving my Kenworth. I always wanted to drive a truck, but I didn't get to haul freight. But I hauled my house. And I would hear people on the CB radio saying, I've got to take this truck to Pittsburgh. This truck doesn't run right. A friend of mine was in Pittsburgh. Those boys really know how to tune up a truck. And it wasn't diesel injection, because there's a diesel injection in Cincinnati. There's one here in Louisville, I think, one in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was skiing one day, and I was in Vail, Colorado. And This old boy called my cell phone. Now I'm old, but he was older than me. And he is dropping the F-bomb and cursing and swearing about a fuel pump that he bought. And his truck runs slower. Big Cam Cummings. Well, I'm sorry. I've invented over 42 items for the Big Cam Cummings. We take a 400 and we produce 800 horsepower. When you buy a part from us for a Big Cam, that truck's going to run good. So I'm listening to this guy scream as I'm standing on a ski slope. And I said, who did you deal with at my shop in Pittsburgh? He said, what do you mean Pittsburgh? He said, I got this in Atlanta. I said, well, why are you calling me? So I got a diesel injection in Atlanta. I said, why are you calling me? Don't you own diesel injection? I said, I own diesel injection at Pittsburgh. Well, then I knew I had to change that name because people were confusing us. And we always strive to make the owner-operator love his truck. When a man loves his truck, he treats it better. He looks forward to driving it. We have 2 people stop by the booth today. They love their truck so much. 3.4 million miles. One's a 379 Pete. The other one was a Freightliner Classic. They were both at 3.4 million. I think one was 3.8 million.
Wow.
So they give that truck a lot of tender, loving care.
And a lot of these guys, they want that. They feel that connection with that truck, and it's to some of them, it's more than just a tool.
Oh, it's everything.
Some of them, it's everything.
Yeah.
Well, Megan, think about this. Mr. Owner-Operator lives Midwest, has a nice little home, a couple acres. He's got his truck, got a wife, a couple children. But what makes the life possible? It's the truck, right? And if he's out Sunday afternoon, he gets home Saturday morning or Friday night, he really needs to pay attention to that truck on Saturday. Sunday can be family day, and then he's back out on the road. So the truck is so important to that family. And it's important to everybody in North America, right?
And I mean, just outside looking in, what little I do know about Pittsburgh Power, you're giving them that, you're giving them that ability to get connected back with a good truck, because it just over the years since they've done the more sensors, the DPF system, there's just been some major truck problems, and it's just been a disaster with a lot of them. And by you giving your products, I feel like you can get back to that of not being aggravated with your truck all the time, but being proud of your truck.
So a few years back, I get a call from Nick, Clearwater, Peterbilt. I'm thinking Clearwater, Florida. It says Clearwater, Minnesota. I didn't know there was a Clearwater, Minnesota. He said, I want to be a max mileage catalyst dealer. I said, no, you don't, because 80% of your work is emissions, and you're going to lose the 80%. He said, no, I want to sell a guy a new Peterbilt, and I want to put him on max mileage. And the next time I see him, I want to see a smile on his face because he loves the truck. And he comes in for other things. Maybe it's an oil change. Maybe they have the overhead set. Maybe it's for an overhaul. And I said, what about the 80% of the work? He said, we have so much work. We don't care about the emissions work. And really, who wants to work on emissions? I mean, as a mechanic, we want to make an improvement. We want to make a guy's truck run better. We want to make, whether we're doing an alignment, whether we're doing a clutch or a transmission, or re-gearing it, or giving it some more horsepower and torque, we want him to be happy. Fixing emissions? Man, that's a horrible job.
Yeah, nobody...
So the max mileage eliminates.
That's probably what they're backed up with all the time.
That's it.
Emissions, yeah.
So Nick was right. But my other friends that run truck dealerships, they don't want to give up that 80%. Mm-hmm. I said, think about it. Your customers are going to be happier.
So is Nick doing that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. His customers are happy.
Yep.
Because they're running the catalyst. So let's go on and talk about truck dealerships, especially Kenworth Peterbilt. I love Kenworth and Peterbilt trucks.
Okay.
But I'm working with the engineers in Denton, Texas. I've got them where they'll put 253 gears in. We still need to go to two 28 gears for the new X15 and the PACCAR engine, because everybody is setting the engines up so they run lower RPMs. I mean, Volvo and Mack are down at the 900. Some are running them at 875 RPM. You could run a PACCAR and an ISX or an X15 Cummins on a level at 1,000, 1,100 RPM. I mean, that was unheard of years ago. So, back when I was young, everything had 411, 410 gears and 390s. And we'd put 370s in. Everyone was concerned about losing horsepower or losing speed on a hill. No, we all had 13 speeds, single over 13s. You just dropped down a half a gear. The 370 gears allowed you to let the RPMs run a little bit lower, get a little bit better fuel mileage, but gave you a better top end if you were in a hurry.
But isn't that what the manufacturers are trying to do, is produce trucks that get better fuel mileage?
Well, they are. They are trying to do that. But I had two guys in my booth that I was just leaving, brand new Peterbilts, and the dealer put 336 gears in one and 325s in the other. And these guys want to run 74 miles an hour. It doesn't work because they're at about 15 and a quarter to 1550 RPM. The ECM starts to cut back horsepower and torque at 1400. So when you're beyond where the engine's producing power, now there's no fuel mileage. So what I have them are going to do for the next couple of days, they're going to drive at 60 miles an hour. And we're going to see where their turbo boost is, and we're going to see where their fuel mileage increases to. And then I have them going back to the dealer and saying, why did you put these rear ends in? And the salesman said, well, that's what we're doing for everybody. But it's wrong.
Yeah.
Just because you're doing it for everybody, if it's wrong, it's wrong.
All right. Change it.
So I've got a guy in Maine.
So you're working at helping change that.
Guy in Maine, he and his wife drive. They got two new Petes. They'll be in this week. They're going to have the PACCAR engine, 253 gears, the 13-speed auto shift. Now, I wanted them to have the 18-speed auto shift because it is a double overdrive. With the 253s, I wanted them to run in single over. But when they're in New England and they're going to run a little bit slower because nothing's level up there, right? From Pittsburgh to the north of Maine, nothing's level. And so...
Do these people reach out to you, or are they past customers?
I spec a lot of trucks.
Okay.
I spec a lot of gears for people. That seems to be about what I'm doing mostly now in my semi-retirement years, is helping people spec new trucks. Or somebody's looking at 3 or 4 used trucks, and they'll find out what engine, what transmission, what gear ratio, and they'll call me and get my opinion on what truck they should buy.
I'm assuming, Bruce, you have people in your company that is just as passionate as you are, and it's keep the tradition going with everything that you've built.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You got to have
but
that.
It's not every guy that comes through the doors like that.
No.
You go through a few employees until you get the pick of the litter, and they have to be a performance-minded. They have to be perfectionist. And I like to get firstborns, but that's hard to find. Firstborns are workaholics, overachievers. Yeah. They feel nobody can do it as good as them. Stand out of the way and let them do it. I'm a lastborn, but I'm a perfectionist. And I don't know where I got it, but my dad was somewhat that way. And my dad was a hands-on guy. He'd take everything apart and fix it before he'd go and replace it. But, they came up through the Depression.
Right.
They had to do that.
Yeah.
So you have to think like a farmer. We have some owner-operators raised on a farm. Their closest auto parts store is 128 miles away. You just don't jump in a pickup truck and run down to the parts store, right? You take what you have. And then I was working in Jamaica. I've been in Jamaica several times, working with our owner-operators there. They take parts that we scrap and they redo, and they're pretty sharp.
They fix them.
I've seen them take cab over internationals and put 2 steering axles on them. I mean, we'd never think of trying something like that. And their junkyard is their parts place. And we'd go walking through the junkyard and they'll pull stuff out and they'll redo it. I mean, a lot of the people in the islands are like that because they can't run out and get the parts.
Yeah, you have to make it with what you got.
Right.
LubeZone has been servicing single trucks and truck fleets for more than 20 years across 12 locations nationwide. LubeZone specializes in quick, full-service oil changes that take approximately 30 to 40 minutes. They also offer tractor-trailer grease, gearbox service, generator service, reefer service, and DOT inspections. They aim to go the extra mile when it comes to quality control. This means your tractor is checked not only once, but 2 times to ensure all service and parts meet their guaranteed quality and standards. No other service center knows semi-trucks better than LubeZone. If your truck needs serviced, check out lubezone.com to find all of their locations, and when you stop by, let them know you heard it here on the Oakley Podcast.
So, back to gearing. We have to gear these new trucks to run like at 1,100 to 1,400 RPM. So if you want to run at 65 miles an hour in a new Kenworth or Peterbilt, and you're going to run, your dealer's going to talk you in, you're going to run an 18-speed or a 13-speed, and you're going to run it in double overdrive, you have to go no lower than 308. So think about this. 308.
To get the sweet spot.
Right. 308 is a higher gear ratio than a 390, but it's lower in numbers. Okay? So a 390, 370, 411 is low. 264, 253, 247s. Walmart is running 247 gears with a direct drive transmission. The reason we want you to run in direct gear is because you gain about 80 horsepower, and every horsepower you gain about 3 foot-pound of torque. So you take 80 times 3, 240 foot-pound of torque. It's torque that pulls the truck up the hill. So people say, well, if I gear my truck with those 247s or 253s or 264s, I'm going to lose power on a hill. No, you're going to gain power on the hill because you're going to be in direct drive, your direct gear, which is 1-to-1, which is your hardest pulling gear. Overdrives are not hard pulling gears. When they first came out with overdrives, it was called a go home empty gear. You weren't supposed to pull in it. When the Duramax diesel first came out in the Chevy and GMC pickup, they had a trailer tow button you pushed. It kept it out of overdrive.
But do you think now, I mean, we got a lot of sharp owner-operators at Oakley, of course, but some of this is just over, the over my head, don't you think it's a lot of the owner-operators don't understand what you're talking about? And, I mean, how do they, because they're going with what the dealer's telling them, and here's what you need to do to get the best performance out of this. But the owner-operator, he needs to know that himself. How is he going to find that out? I mean, I know he can talk to you and listen to this episode.
He can read our articles.
Yeah.
He can listen to our 2 radio shows that we do, one on Monday, one on Tuesday. They can call us. But there's a tremendous amount of information on our website. There's videos. There's all the articles that I've written since 1987.
But do you think most of them don't know that are out there right now, and owner-operator has his own truck, probably doesn't understand?
They don't understand gearing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that too, just by the owner-operators I know. I mean, a lot of them, some of them do and get that involved.
Now, if you take the ones that race stock cars, drag race, they race anything, they understand gearing.
For those that may not be none the wiser as far as this goes, is there ever a point where it's like, okay, it's a point of no return, like there's no going back and fixing it, or can you always fix anything.
Okay. Right? Everything is possible. And never say can't. That's a word that we can't stand, is can't. Now, when somebody says, well, I can't do that. Oh, yes, you can. And we're going to show you how to do that.
Right.
So if you buy a truck and it's geared wrong, we can change the gearing. Now, sometimes it's you can do it for about $7,000 or $6,000. Sometimes if you buy a truck and it's got 355s and you want to go to 247s, now you have to change the whole housing. Now that becomes more expensive. So then you want to call people like LKQ and get prices on differentials, or try to find the whole housing with the proper gear in it. And Rob at LKQ in Easton, Maryland is up on it.
But you're going to the source, MHC, Kenworth, Peterbilt. You're trying to go to the manufacturers to get it.
I'm dealing with the manufacturers.
Get it
I don't deal with the truck dealers.
Get it done right. In the
they
beginning.
Still have the mentality that you have to be in double over to get cruising speed and fuel mileage, and that's not true. Your cruising speed is determined by your differential, not by your transmission. Your transmission just makes it possible to get there. Now, here's why I like gearing a truck in direct gear. You ever been on I-70 crossing Utah? There's plateaus out there. Oh, it's amazing when you're from the east, you don't even, you study plateaus in geography, but until you're out there and you ride up one and it's 60 or 80 miles across the top of it, and then when you go down the other side, you're going downhill for 18 miles. If you're going downhill for 18 miles and you're geared in direct and 65, 68, 60 mile an hour is your speed, you put that shifter back in the big hole, let that RPM come down to about 700 or 800. That turbo boost will come down to about 2, and let it roll. Let it roll 80 miles an hour. Let it roll 85. There's nobody out there. There's no police. There's hardly any cars. It's free miles. You can gain 4 or 5 miles of the gallon for those 18 miles by using speed. And most everybody loves speed. I love speed. But when you're dragging a trailer and you're going across the level, you can't speed and get fuel mileage. But you can speed going downhill. Interstate 80, Western Iowa. First time I crossed it in my Kenworth, I said, did they do this on purpose? It's a perfect roller coaster. It's like they did this on purpose. Well, you get on the CB radio and you make sure there's traffic is low and there's no bears, and you let it roll. Megan, what takes a roller coaster uphill?
Isn't it powered by some kind of an engine to go uphill, and then?
You ever rode a roller coaster?
I'm not a big fan.
A roller coaster?
I'm not an expert because I don't like them.
I see. What takes that roller coaster? It's being pulled by a chain up the first hill. Once it clears that first hill, there's no engine. It's all momentum. When you have 80,000 pounds going down a highway and 18 wheels turning, don't you have momentum? If you're going down a grade and you let the Jake brake come on at 65 miles an hour, you're losing fuel mileage. Turn the Jake off. Get that cruise control off. Ease into that throttle. Use the downhill. It's free miles.
Quit holding it back.
Don't hold it back. Let her roll. Let it run like a thoroughbred. Through the dip and up the other side. Use momentum. Now, if it's rush hour traffic and you're near a city, you can't do that.
Right.
I've been in Iowa on Sunday afternoon, and I couldn't do it because it was Interstate 80 was packed. I said, where are all these people going on Sunday afternoon in Iowa? And that was 25 years ago. So I'm sure it's worse now.
Yeah.
So you can't always do it, but when you can do it, coming here to Louisville from Cincinnati, you ever drove that road? It's down and up. Or you can let her roll and use no momentum going up the other side. So turbo boost gauge.
Did you drive your Audi?
No, I'm coming from Florida. I had to fly.
Oh, you flew it here. Okay.
Took 12 hours. Well, we had to fly from Fort Myers to Houston to here. And then you have the waits at the airport.
12 hours.
From the time we left to the time we got here, it's 12
Probably
hours.
could have driven it.
I know a person who drove it in 13.
But anyway.
So Turbo boost. The lower you keep the turbo boost gauge on the level, the better the fuel mileage.
Explain turbo boost.
Okay. Turbocharger makes boost. It forces air into the combustion chamber. It takes 220 parts of air to burn 1 part of fuel. So let's take a cup. If you want to burn a cup of diesel fuel, you need 220,000 cups of air. It's a lot of air, isn't it?
It's a lot of air.
So the turbocharger, you know why the turbocharger was invented?
Tell us.
Small aircraft, normally aspirated gasoline engines couldn't fly over the Rocky Mountains. They couldn't clear the 14,000-foot peaks. So they put a turbocharger on it.
Because of the thin air?
Because of the thin air. And if you ever want to try it, stop up in the top of Bell Pass. There's a rest area. Get out and run up the hill. See how many feet you can make it before you're huffing and puffing. You might make it 60 feet. You might think you're in good shape, but 60 feet's all you're going to go.
I can't do that now in Louisville, Kentucky.
So anyway, the turbocharger was made to simulate sea level. They wanted to they weren't concerned about making performance. They just wanted that normally aspirated gasoline engine to think it was at sea level when it was at 15 or 16,000 feet. So then the turbocharger found its way onto cars. Saab was one of the first people to do it. And then in the diesel engine, Cummings. Cummings was the person that took Rudolf Diesel's. Rudolf Diesel made the first diesel engine in Germany, but it wouldn't power anything. Cummings was the chauffeur for the Miller family in Columbus, Indiana, who owned the banks. And Clessy was their chauffeur, and he had a little wooden garage. You've seen the Harley-Davidson garage where they started Harley-Davidson in Milwaukee? Did you ever see that building?
No, sir.
Well, Clessy's garage was about the same, old wooden garage. And he took one of their cars and made a diesel engine and drove it from Columbus, Indiana to New York City on a couple gallon of diesel fuel. And that was the start of it. And that was the start of turbocharging. And we've come a long way. However, it takes exhaust flow to make turbo boost. And we have to push the exhaust through a snail shell. And Megan, think of a garden hose. If you squeeze the nozzle down, the water shoots way out, right? But if you open the nozzle up or take it off, it just runs out. But you got a higher volume running out. Well, with exhaust, we don't want back pressure in the engine. We don't want restriction. So, but we have to have some to spin the turbine wheel in the turbine housing, which looks like a snail shell because it gets tighter as it squirrels up to spin the turbo. Now, a turbo spins at 8,000 RPM at an idle. When that truck's going up a hill, it's spinning at 110,000 RPM or more. So, if you could see your turbocharger spinning, you would be backing out of the throttle because it's hard to believe they can stay alive.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't explode.
And they float on oil. And the compressor wheel, the fresh air wheel, that sucks like a vacuum cleaner, sucks the air in through the air filters, it actually expands. It's aluminum. And if you could see it, if you could have a camera in there, you would see it growing. And so the rule is ease into the throttle and ease out of the throttle. If you're hard on the throttle, you can explode your turbocharger.
Oakley Trucking is a 100% owner-operator company. We specialize in hopper bottom, end dump, and pneumatic trailers. We provide the trailer free of charge, and you provide the truck. We have a large customer base that reaches the whole United States as well as parts of Canada. Our owner-operators live anywhere from Texas to North Carolina to Pennsylvania to Wisconsin and everywhere in between, and we get them home weekends. We take it seriously when you join Oakley Trucking because we need you to be successful. Oakley offers great benefits and competitive mileage pay, so you know that when your wheels are turning, you're generating money no matter if you're loaded or empty. We understand that you want to make a good living and that you make our living. We only take on independent contractors, and to be honest with you, we are very particular on who we lease on. You must have a good driving record, good work history, and clean, dependable truck. So if you're interested in Oakley Trucking or just want some more information, you can go to oakleytrucking.com, listen to our weekly podcast, The Oakley Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Before we end, we're getting close.
We need another hour.
I know we may get it, but I got somebody else coming. But before we end, tell our listeners what's happening with Bruce Mallinson.
Well, I'm 75 years old. I still love to ski, still love the snowmobile. Celebrated my 75th birthday with a brand new Skidoo 850 turbo. Had it tuned to over 200 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 2 seconds. She'll just stand straight up. You know, she's a wonderful machine. Still love my motorcycles. Still love boating. I still love the trucking industry. Still love being around owner-operators, talking to owner-operators, helping owner-operators. It's a wonderful feeling when you can improve a person's life by making their truck better and making their life better, making their family's life better.
Do y'all go to any more truck shows?
This is the only one for me now. We lost most of them. And you know, some of the reasons were labor unions, pet peeve of mine. Dallas was a mistake. When the city bought the convention center, the one year they were giving us all parking tickets while we were unloading our booth. I said to the female policeman, I said, what are you doing this for? Well, we need money for the convention center. So this $35 ticket, you think is going to save this? All it's doing is really irritating us. And I called the chief of police, left her a message. She was only a couple blocks away. I said, you better get down here because you got problems.
Did you hear back from her?
No. She didn't show up either. And now the Dallas show's gone. We had a neat show at the racetrack in Charlotte, North Carolina for a couple of years. That's gone. They're all gone. Boston's gone. Cleveland. Oh, the union in Cleveland was horrible. They wouldn't. If an owner-operator bought a part, they wouldn't let him carry it out.
So Bruce is in a good spot right now. You're 75, living life like you want to, sounds like. I mean, anything in the future that you're that's changing up, or are you just enjoying the routine?
I want to see Spain.
Okay.
Norway, Sweden. I'd like to go back to the Bahamas. Bahamas has some pirates and some things going on right now that aren't good. But I want to do some more traveling, but I do have a puppy. You know, he's going to be 4 on April 19th. His name's Bentley. You'll hear him on our radio show because he likes to bark. He's a mini golden doodle. He weighs all of 19 pounds. Oh, he loves to ride on the Sea-Doo. God, does he love the Sea-Doo. And
what lake?
Chesapeake Bay.
Okay.
You know, the Chesapeake Bay is the #1 inland boating waterway in the world. It's 200 miles long, has a tremendous amount of rivers feeding into it. It's a great boating place. We're just south of Annapolis, Maryland in the summertime in a place called Edgewater, Maryland. And I enjoy it.
I can tell, and
Sounds like you've earned it.
Yes, he has.
Well, I started working when I was 10.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm still working.
And it's a pleasure to be able to talk to somebody that's so passionate about what they do and it's so smart. I mean, it just it amazes me just to sit here and listen to you talk about all this stuff that I sure don't know about it all. But man, it is just impressive that you're so smart about all this, and you're wanting to push it out there, to everybody else, and you wanting other people to understand it and get to know it, and that's really impressive to me.
Well, think about the word improve. If you're not constantly trying to improve your body, your health, your truck, your house, your car, which way is it going? Right? There is no level. If you're not improving, you're going downhill. And so coming from the race car industry, I held a track record at Nelson's Ledges for 7 straight years in road racing from 73 to 77, or I'm sorry, 79. And if we weren't always looking for ways to make that Corvette faster and faster through the bends, we were going to get beat. And my competition were engineers from Nassau and Cleveland. I was just a country boy, and these guys were smart. And we were young, but I had a great welder and a fabricator, and we could think, and we would try things. And sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. But the first bend we'd hit at 110 miles an hour in Nelson's Ledges, and it was a flat turn. And let me tell you, there wasn't much grass on the outside of that bend, because if you did something to the suspension and it was the wrong way, you were going out across the dirt at 110 mile an hour, spinning circles. So we always thought, and when I got into the diesel engine business and I started meeting owner operators, I said, these guys are just like me. They're a bunch of gearheads. And they'd come by every afternoon and sometimes into the evening, and we'd go get stuff to eat. And
like Joe, have you talked to Joe lately?
I haven't talked to Joe lately.
Yeah, he's gonna have to give you a call.
Yeah, he needs to. And we would talk about, let's improve, and just keep improving and just keep making better. Look at the show trucks outside. Do they get better every year?
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I love the way they have them out front now.
Yes.
That's where they should be, out front.
Yes.
Those guys work so hard and spend so much money and time to make those show trucks. They should be in the front.
Yes.
So people can see them. I didn't care for them when they were out back, but now they have, I guess they're having sled pulls on Saturday night.
Oh, I don't know.
Tractor pulls.
Oh, tractor pull, yeah, in the arena.
Yeah. Well, they're all parked where the show trucks used to be.
Okay.
So I love seeing the show trucks out front.
Yeah. Well, great show as always. Louisville's always been a good show for all of us to get together, the trucking community, and learn about each other, and find products like yours that helps owner operators out there, and it's great. I appreciate you coming over and sitting down with me and having this discussion. You too, Megan.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
And if you're at this show and it doesn't make you feel good about being in the trucking industry, then you should find another job.
That's right.
That's true. Yeah.
That's right.
Words of wisdom
That's
from
right.
Bruce. Bruce, we appreciate you, man.
Well, thank you.
Yes,
My pleasure.
Yes. Thanks everybody for joining the Oakley Podcast. We sure appreciate you tuning in every week, and we'll got another one coming for you next week. Appreciate it.